Hey, this is Orange County Executive Steve Neuhaus. You are here with my friend Lucie Greco. She works for Adult Protective Services in the county. She also is a physical trainer. We're going to get into all that stuff today. So Lucie, great seeing you.
Yes.
You look fantastic.
Thank you.
And you're a mom of a son that's in his 20s. You look like a rock star.
Thank you.
So let's get into, let's start with Adult Protective Services.
Yes.
Because you've been working now close to 20 years, over 20 years this June.
24 years.
24 years. How is that? Like, tell people, what is Adult Protective Services and what do you do for the county? And like, what's the range? Because I saw you're doing all sorts of stuff to help them out on the paperwork before here, but what does it mean when you work for Adult Protective Services, and maybe how's it changed since you've been there?
Oh my gosh, it pretty much covers anything and everything our clients could need, from grocery shopping to advocating with, within our agency, within other agencies. Sometimes it includes medical help, making sure clients stay on top of their medical stuff, keeping them in their own home, pretty much anything you would need as you age, your parents, my parents, so absolutely anything they need. We would help with.
So we get calls or we get notified all the time about elder abuse.
Yes.
Is that, I mean, because I know my parents, for example, in their 80s, and they tell me about some of the scam, I get scam calls at my house.
Right.
Hey, you just won this, or hey, this is the utilities. Are they even more prone to be preyed upon by?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you have to report that, or you help them out, or you're trying to just educate them,
Yes.
like, look.
So a referral will come in, our intake worker, takes all the information that they need, and based on the information that they get, they decide what happens with it. They investigate it and decide if it's going to be open or if the case is going to be closed, if they need to refer out elsewhere.
So you've been here like over 20 years.
Yes.
Has it gotten better, worse, or are you like more seasoned, so or has the problems gotten, I know that the pandemic was, it really impacted the elderly the most. They were the ones that were dying the most, they were scared, they were, there was all sorts of uncertainty out there, but have you seen things better or worse over the last 20 years?
Our volume has drastically increased, and I think the needs are greater as people are aging and living longer. Certainly those needs increase. How
did you get into this work? You live in Middletown now.
I
Where
do.
were you born and raised? Like, how did you end up saying? Did you want to get into helping the elderly, or you just stumble upon it?
You know what? I just stumbled upon it actually. I started in Child Protective Services.
Which is also difficult and challenging.
It is. I liked working with the children and the families, but I had an opportunity to go to Adult Services for a promotion, and I took that opportunity. And I'm kind of glad that I did, because my parents both have needs that are similar to our clients that we serve.
Yeah, so let's talk about your parents. So before you and I went on the air here, and this is great stuff, because everybody out there goes through these type of challenges in life. It's just part of growing up, being a child, and then being an adult, and then taking care of the elderly. Your mom and dad, your mom is suffering from not only Parkinson's, which she got about 10 years ago,
About 20 years.
20 years ago.
Over 20 years ago.
And now she's started to get dementia, right?
She has dementia, yes.
So, you are taking care of them. Is she home with your dad?
No, they're actually separated. They've been separated for over 10 years.
So who takes care of her?
She's in her own home, and she did have AIDS. But post-COVID, it's been a struggle to try and keep AIDS in. So it's family, and I managed to get a family friend in there, but it's very challenging because we just can't hire aides. There's not people working. The pay is not great, and it's tough work for the pay.
So she realizes 20 years ago she's now going to have Parkinson's. Did you know what it was back then, or did she know what it was back then?
Yeah, we did understand
an idea.
it. Yes.
But now you've obviously become seasoned with it, and my grandfather had it, and he was a surgeon, and I remember us telling you before how debilitating it was for him, to have all your physical capabilities slowly taken away from you.
Right.
So your mom had to stop driving eventually?
Yes, she stopped driving, and she's not quite bedridden yet. She can still get herself out of bed, but it's a very dangerous situation. So we're trying to work with her and a couple of other agencies in her county to try and find a better option for her, whether it's senior housing with aides in a better county, because she currently lives in Sullivan, and their resources are not great.
So you are your parents. Your mom starts getting sick. Then she now starting getting dementia.
Right.
Where do you get help? Like, you have an expertise because you
Right.
work in the field, so you have a better access. But is there a lot of help out there for people that are listening right now? If you're now starting to find a loved one that's going through one of these things,
It's challenging. I'm having a difficult time, even working with her MLTC. They're trying to resource out to find people in the home, and we're hitting brick walls pretty much everywhere we go.
that you have to step in a lot and go after work and take care of your mom
Yes.
too? Yeah.
Yep. I do work with Adult Protective Services in Sullivan County. We do have a worker there now that's also trying to advocate within her county.
So we have a friend of ours that his mom has dementia full on. His father passed away very young, in my opinion. I think they were in their late 60s, early 70s. But he and his brother have a caregiver during the week.
Right.
And on weekends, they rotate out who's going to stay with her and take care of
Right.
the whole weekend. So, I mean, because of the shortage of healthcare workers in our society today,
Right.
that's what people like you and him
Yeah,
are forced to do. And
Correct. I do have a nephew that's there. He's 22, and it's not really, I don't think he should be there, but he wants to help his grandmother, and we can't leave her alone. I do have a family friend that is there for the nighttime to cover, to help out. My dad does go there to help out as much as he can, but he has his own health issues, and he lives just about a half hour away from my mom. So
Now, I know we should have started with this,
Right.
but where did you grow up? And I know you live in Middletown now, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in Ulster County. I was
Ulster
born
County.
in Brooklyn. Yep, I grew up in Ulster County, and I've been in Orange County since I'm 21, 22.
And what type of education did you need before you started with the county with Child Protective Services, or were you just entry level and then climbed your way into?
So it's entry level. I don't have my degree, so I came in into an entry level position, and I moved up one grade from that position.
And then switch over to Adult Protective?
Yes.
And okay, so then your life takes you in different ways, and it's very it's interesting. I just listened to something with Matthew McConaughey over Monday. Did this like super podcast with all different people. Many people were suffering through that, were divorce survivors,
Right.
or some type of catastrophic event in their life that they went bankrupt or had a physical injury or something like that happened to them, lost a loved one. You had a divorce.
Yes.
And you decided to use or get through it as one of your mechanisms by getting into shape.
Yep, using fitness.
Were you physically fit before that?
So I played sports my whole life,
Okay.
But I never did the gym. It was whatever my sport was, it was. And then I tried Planet Fitness, and it wasn't there for me. I started running Spartan races and 5Ks, and then I was looking for something to prepare me.
This is all post-divorce?
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
post-divorce. Yep, so I was looking for a modality to prepare me for the Spartan races specifically, and a friend of mine in Long Island recommended I look for CrossFit. I had no idea what CrossFit was, but I looked into CrossFit, I found CrossFit, and it just took off from there.
So between when you used to play sports when you were younger and when you got divorced, did you do anything in between that?
Yep, I played softball.
You played softball, okay.
I played softball on rec
So you stayed
leagues.
with that,
Yep,
okay,
yep.
cool. And did you lose weight now, or have you always been in good shape? Like, because I feel I need to be, the military wants me at 196 or less. I usually pivot around 198 and 200. That's
Right.
if I go over that, my health starts getting impacted.
Right.
So I am healthier when I am 200 or less.
Right.
Once I start going up there, things start going on the checking off the scales here, and my blood pressure goes up and things like that. So when you got into CrossFit, you were playing softball before that.
Right.
Now you feel yourself physically healthier than you've ever been?
I do, physically healthier and mentally healthier. I never really was out of shape, I guess, but my body composition changed, my strength changed, and then my mental health, I was much more clear. I gained confidence.
Yep.
And I would come here and I would leave my stuff at the door, whatever that stuff was, and I would come here, I would be able to focus on whatever it was I was doing in here, and even if it's just for that hour in the daytime, I could forget everything else and just focus on me.
How many days a week you do this?
Now I'm an average 5 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was doing 6-7 days a week.
I do. I try to do I'm usually like 3 to 5 days, and
Right.
I do the military PFA That's my main thing. So I'll run, push-ups, sit-ups, planks, jumping jacks, and that keeps me relatively in my zone.
Right.
But I do like going to the gym and lifting weights when I get a chance. And like you said, you go there, and my staff knows before like a debate or before a big speech, they're like, we cut an hour and a half into your schedule to get the heck out of here and go home, get it out of your head. Right. So, so I do that. So I love that feeling like you're saying you get. And so even if when you're stressed out, do you sometimes bump it up? Like I got to go to do CrossFit today, guys. I had a rough week, or
sometimes it depends. Now that it's partially my job too, it has a little bit different feel than when I first came here just to do the workout.
How many years have you been doing this?
Sometimes this becomes part of my stress.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So it went from me just coming here working out and leaving everything at the door to sometimes I'm able to do that, and then other times this becomes part of my stress because running a business.
Yeah, you're helping people, and you're responsible for people.
You got to make sure all the back end stuff
is. It's not about you anymore.
Correct.
How long have you been doing this?
So I started CrossFit in 2012. I started coaching in 2015. And then in 2019 is when I took over the business, me and my business partner at the time. So
you've been doing this since 2012. Everybody listening has been, and you and I know these people, and we probably were those people. Like New Year's resolution, I'm going to get in shape, rock it out for 2 months, then slipping off the ledge and then getting back into it. Then you're back to the next New Year's resolution. Did you fall off like 2012, or have you been steady the whole time?
I've been up and down depending on different phases in my life. You know, if my son was a little more busy, I had to bump my stuff down so that I can, focus more on his sports because he played sports. He plays sports also. Awesome. If I was a little busier at work, or if my parents' stuff escalates a little bit, then I have to bump down, obviously, mine. So it's generally a roller coaster.
What about diet? How big is diet in your life?
It's a pretty big part of it, but I've always eaten, for the most part healthy. I never really made a lot of unhealthy choices. I don't strict diet. I believe that when you pigeonhole yourself to just not being able to eat certain things, you want it more, and then when you taste it, you go overboard on it. So I maintain a pretty clean diet just by nature.
When people come into you, do you have people that are like a complete train wreck and like, I haven't done any working out in 10 years, or people that I need to take this workout to the next level? I'm happy where I am now. I think I can get better.
Right. I have all different levels. I have people that come in and they're like, I've never been in a gym in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I have people that, I have older people that come in and say, oh, I used to play sports and I haven't done anything for 20, 25, 30 years. Come in. Then I have people that come in and they're super fit and they just want to level it up, or they want to try something different. I have seniors that come in, in their 60s and say, I never did anything in my life, but I want to be able to pick up my grandchildren. I want to be able to run in the field with my grandchildren. So I have everything from beginner to, higher level.
Do you have, when you come in, does the first thing you ask people, like, what do you want from me?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
So where do you want to be?
What is your goal? What is your goal?
So you're not saying, like, I'm going to make you a Spartan warrior.
Nope, not at all.
Because I've seen them. They're pretty wild. My son, my little guy who's 8, he did a junior one, and I've seen them. They're pretty intense, but they're fun. Yeah,
they are. I actually started Spartans in 2011, and that's kind of what where I found all of this stuff. And I love them because it was like nothing I ever did. I always played team sports, so I was always dependent on other people. And running and Spartan races were really the first time in my life that I did something exclusively for me, and I got out of it what I put into it. So if I worked harder, my races were better, I felt better.
Well, it's interesting. I've seen a couple of them, and it reminds me of like what we do on military exercises as a team. You do better when you're with a group of people. Correct. For some reason, not only will they push you, but you want to be with them. So some of us run faster than others. Some of us do more push-ups than others. Some of us can climb all the obstacle course better than others, or whatever. But if you're done first, you're there waiting for the next guy, cheering the next guy, like, come on, man, you can do it. I've seen people walk like half the course back and do it over again
to get them.
So do you see that camaraderie?
100%, and that was one of the things that I loved about it. I met some of my closest friends doing those Spartan races. And they're not only local to here. I have friends in Florida. I have friends in Connecticut, you know, spread all over the place. But we would meet up, go to these races, and I would travel. Vermont, I traveled down to Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, and we would meet up there. We always got to the start line together, and we always either waited at the finish line or we went back to make sure nobody was left behind. And, you know, that's kind of one of the things I love about CrossFit. It's not only the modality of CrossFit, and it's so varied, but the community. The community is massive. It's huge for me.
So when you're training people, you're obviously the center point. Hey guys, we're doing this. The next thing is this. When you're doing it for yourself, when you're by yourself in here, you're putting on earbuds, earphones, putting on music, or to go in your zone. You will like it quiet. Like what do you like?
You know what? I don't like to work out by myself. Okay. Unless I'm doing like a strength piece and I have a little bit of extra time. I don't like to work out by myself. Okay. So I generally work out with one of my other members at 7 o'clock in the morning after my first 2 classes are coached. And we just work together, we put the music up, but we talk and, you know, we kind of encourage each other, but I don't like working out by myself. Okay. Yeah.
Some people get distracted too by people like, hey, chit chat, like, so Lucie, what are we doing for dinner tonight? Or, hey, what's your favorite, did you see this movie? I like to go with my daughter. She goes to the gym with me now during the week. She's 13, and she does she'll do the stair climber, she'll walk, I'll run, and we can at least be next to each other. We'll watch TV, she'll point something out to me. But normally I'm by myself. When I'm away with my friends, we encourage each other and we do stuff for the military. But so going back to Adult Protective Services, you're now rounding off over 20 years this June. 24?
Yep.
24 years. What's the future for you?
I'm staying till 30. 30 years. That'll have me 56 years old. And then I would like to retire. And, you know, I have this. My son ultimately is going to take this over and run this. So
he's doing this too with you?
Oh, he is. Yep, he'll be home from Buffalo.
He got into this because of you?
Yes. Yeah. This community and the sport of CrossFit helped me raise him. And he was a higher level athlete. You know, he ran for Goshen. He ran all 3 seasons. He went to nationals in high school. Wow. Yep. And then he went up to run at University of Buffalo. So now he's transitioned from running to CrossFit, and he just did his first competition.
So how he's been doing CrossFit now recently. He's getting into this business. You have a partner in this. Was it scary when you took it over?
Oh my, it was.
Were you like, you know what, I've been working here long enough, the current owner is leaving or whatever happened there. When did you just say, you grabbed someone and said, we should run this?
No, so the previous owner, Barry, he passed away in 2017.
Wonderful guy. You and I joked about him because he was like in the street yelling at people, come on in, let's get some.
I'm here because he stopped.
That's awesome.
You know, so I attribute all this to Barry. Barry built this and I just picked up the reins. His wife approached me and my former business partner at the end of 2018 and asked if we wanted to buy it. I honestly didn't think about it. I was just like, yeah, absolutely. Like, this is my home, this is my community, it's my family. And then after the fact, I was like, oh my God, what did I just commit to? But it just felt right.
You never had a business for yourself before?
No, I never wanted to own a business. I never wanted to coach. I never wanted to train. I just wanted to come and get my workout in, but I was peer pressured, you know, by the community.
And it worked.
And it just worked.
So here's the question, when did you get the keys to this place? Like what year?
2019, April 1st, 2019.
I remember that because I was in Iraq, and then a year later, you were in the thick of a pandemic. You're a new business owner.
Yes.
So right off the bat, you get the keys in 2019. Is it going smooth right off the bat as a new owner? Like, were you able to, like, all right, pay the utilities, this, that?
Do you know what? The business just kind of kept running. When Barry passed away, my former business partner and I, we just picked up and just kept it running. So we just continued it. The only thing that changed was the name and that we owned it. Everything remained exactly the same. So we just picked up and ran with it.
What was the biggest challenge when you finally took the leap to be a small business owner?
Juggling the ownership. Okay. You know, when I worked here, I didn't quite leave everything here when I left, but it was easier for me to separate a little bit. Now that I'm the owner, I'm basically married to it. Everything falls on my shoulders, whether I'm here or not. So that was the biggest challenge.
What was the biggest influence to help you to say, you got this, Lucie. You need to get in. You should do this. This is all you.
You know what?
Or like, hey, call me if there's a problem, and you had to call those people. Did you have any people like that, or you just learned by mistakes and said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to figure it out along the way?
I just kind of picked it up. I've always, from a very young age, I was like that. My grandparents passed away in a plane crash when I was 12.
Wow.
And I'm the oldest of 4, so I just kind of picked up the reins and went with it.
Wow.
And just pretty much everything in my life, it's kind of been like that. You hit a brick wall, okay, let me figure out what I have to do from here. I have to move forward.
Yeah.
There's no options. I can't just sit down and say, I'm not doing this. You just pick it up and do it. The military deployments, all right, we got to move forward. I'm going to do this. I'll figure it out along the way. And then, it got right into my divorce. I'll figure it out along the way. And then I found this community, and they helped me raise my son. So it's just, okay, I got this. I know that I can do it. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out.
Wow. So how was it just during the pandemic? Shut down?
Shut down. Doors locked.
I remember.
Dark inside.
I remember because other gyms around, and I don't know if you want to consider a gym or bad a gym. I don't know because the terminology for the internal lingo. But I remember going with the Chamber of Commerce approached us and said, we're going to lose our shirt. The PPE wasn't approved then, meaning like those loans.
Right.
And small business owners like you were like, I'm going to lose my shirt. I can't pay my rent.
Right.
I have no income coming in.
Right.
But so how long of a gap were you guys literally shut down? Was it like 6 months?
So we were shut down from March 16th, I think it was the date, and we reopened September 2nd.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you opened September 7th, was like people like tiptoeing in here, masks, like don't get too close to me?
No.
Or were people ready to go like
They
guys,
were ready to
get
go.
back?
They were just ready to get back to normalcy. They didn't like the having to wear masks, but everybody just wanted to be back here.
Yeah, I remember it was brutal.
wanted.
Let me tell you, as a guy that goes to, I'm not an Olympian here, but I do
Right.
like going to the gym, and I feel better. I literally feel good, and I
Right.
feel if I don't work out when I was supposed to in my routine,
Right.
I not only I just physically I don't feel good, mentally I don't feel good.
Right.
So going back to the gym with the mask killed me. I was
Yeah.
like, I like to run, and to
Right.
me it made no sense. I felt like I was running in a swamp.
Right.
And so I could see, but once everything opened up, I was there, and obviously so were
Right.
your clients.
We actually started before September 2nd. We were working out at Erie Park. A group of us would meet there, and we
Wonderful.
would work out there. And then
So you rethought
Right.
it and said, let's just do this outside.
Yep. And then we did it right here on the sidewalk and in the Frontier parking lot until we were allowed to come into the building. But prior to that, I actually loaned equipment out so my members can continue to work
Wonderful.
out at home. And then, they would ask me to come in and swap stuff, so I would pass it through the windows because nobody was allowed in here. So we would open the windows, pass it through the windows.
Was there any time in that period between March and September that you thought you were going to go under? Like, here we go, new business owner, a year later, I took this leap. Now this is happening. I don't know when they're going to lift the ban. Like,
Right.
nobody knew in September, Were you worried that you were going to lose this?
I wasn't worried that we were going to lose it.
Because everybody else was in the same boat?
Everybody else was in the same boat, and I was just like, we got to be able to get through this. We got to be able to get through this, keep plugging away. One of the positive things that came out of it for us is that we had a chance to shut our doors and make changes to our building. So we painted, we moved things around.
So you used the time wisely in
Correct,
that sense. Yeah.
correct. Yeah, we reorganized some things. I reorganized schedule, which we didn't do when we first bought. Again, we just kept everything the way that it was,
Yeah.
and we went forward with it. So the positive side is it allowed us to make some changes that we needed to make. I really wasn't afraid that we weren't going to be able to make it. So my community was very supportive. I had members that paid throughout the entire shutdown. They wanted to pay. I gave everybody the option. Let me know when you want me to freeze you.
wonderful.
Let
Wow.
me know when. Yeah. So my community was very supportive, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without them.
When you, we've covered a couple of things. You lost your grandparents tragically in the plane crash.
Yes.
You went through a divorce.
Yes.
You went through a small business owner, the struggles, and then getting hit with a pandemic. What's been some of the biggest influences in your life that made you who you are. Like that made you tough. Like, all right, Lucie, you're gonna have things put in front of you, obstacles, and you're gonna have to dust yourself off and get over them. What are those big tools that got you through these things?
I don't know. I was always that person who stepped up and said, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? You know, even in situations that were very emotional, I've always been able to step outside of that and figure out where we needed to go.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it was. And, you know, my dad was always a very hard worker and grinding it and doing whatever he needed to keep the family. You know, my mom stayed home, so he provided.
Was a mechanic.
My dad was a mechanic, yep, by trade. So he was a very hard worker, and, you know, that's what I saw. My mom always maintained the house and raised us kids. And, you know, as a military wife and as a single mom, I had to pick up in both places.
Yeah.
You know, I had to keep the roof over our head, but I also had to take care of my son, raise my son, and you know, provide all those things too. So it was just, I don't know, I'm not a quitter, and
that's all. Yeah, obviously you went to. Did you, when you did your first Spartan, did you quit or did you make it through?
No,
you did a lot of burpees?
I made it through.
Did you do a lot of burpees?
Do you know what? I did not. There was one obstacle that I failed.
It means basically they have obstacles.
Yes.
If you're not able to complete one of the obstacles, you do a certain
penalty
amount of burpees.
30.
To at least get through it.
Yeah, no.
So you made it through without it.
One obstacle, I had to do the burpees, and it was the wall that's angled, and it had a rope, and there was soap on it, so I slipped down it.
Okay.
And then my next Spartan race, I was like, I'm going to do that one. I'm going to do that one. And that was it. I did it. I learned how to climb a rope in Spartan races. You know, I never did anything like that. So it was satisfying to know that I can do those things. And as an older woman, it's empowering, you know, especially this stuff. You put weight on a bar, and as an older woman, you're lifting weights. It's like, I never touched a barbell before CrossFit. I never touched any of this stuff before CrossFit. So it's all empowering.
There's a lot of people like the Rob O'Neill, the guy that shot Bin Laden, that does public speeches and you know, try to inspire people. And a lot of the messages, because everybody's been through like tough times with COVID or the economy and this uncertainty and you name it, something's going on in somebody's life. A lot of people say it's not as bad as you think it is, to try to encourage people, like if you're having a bad day, to get through it.
Right.
If somebody that's been through a divorce and some of these other challenges, and now looking back on it, was it as bad as you thought it was, and that it was hopeless, or it wasn't?
Do you know what? I was never hopeless.
Yeah. I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
It's just a couple series of bad things.
Right. Sometimes the uncertainty of, you know, whatever direction anything was going to play was a little scary, but I never felt hopeless. I knew I had to get through, you know, whatever it was, especially as a single mom.
No choice.
My son deserved nothing less than for me to keep plugging away. And like I said, I have a really great circle of support here with this community, and I have some really great friends that I met through Spartan that also helped me raise my son. So I just figured, you know, sometimes it was just one day at a time. Sometimes it was just getting through the day. Let me see where this day takes me, and then I'll readjust tomorrow wherever I have to readjust. You know, and sometimes I had to readjust my sails, and other times I could just keep going on the same path. You
seem to be like an optimist, no matter what happens. Are you? So you're always like looking. You're dealing with your parents now, which happens to everybody, and but you're still an optimist.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a silver lining.
And you got
there's always a silver lining.
Coming up behind you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome, and you know, it's been a great conversation, because you know, people want to hear, you know, their neighbors' stories.
Right.
And people are, whether they want to admit it or not, are going through tough times.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And they want to hear, whether they want it or not, they want to see, like, what are the other success stories? What are other outlets to overcome life's challenges, or reach your goals? Like,
right.
You know,
I'm not going to say that I've never had times where, you know, I'm sad or I'm emotional. I have those moments, but I take those moments for what they are. I pick up the pieces and I move along, and I look for, exactly like I said, that silver lining. There's always something positive to come out of whatever scenario it is. And, you know, I'm not going to let a situation hold me down.
So to wrap it up,
yes.
What is the future for Lucie? What is your next big challenge? Is it getting to retirement in the next decade, or is it traveling to do this, or is it to what do you see? Like, you set yourself for goals. What are some of your goals for the future? Your son's going to be integrated into the business model.
Right.
What other type
I
of
want to
things?
retire at 56 years old, which will give me 30 years with the county. My son and I want us to build this business together. And at some point, I would like to be able to travel a little bit stateside. I have a condo in another state that we bought with the intention of maybe doing a little bit of traveling there, maybe buying some income properties, and eventually my son will transition to running this, mostly. And I still always want to be part of, what's here, but I would like to be a little bit more outside of it after I'm able to retire and, let my son do his thing.
Awesome.
Let him have his time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Lucie, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, and to hear this, the internal operations, not only of this business, taking that plunge.
Right.
And, you're obviously taking care of your parents now, your mom more than your dad.
Yes.
But you're still an optimist, and
Yes.
you're always smiling, and that's a great story. So
Yes.
thank you for doing this with me
Thank
today.
you. I appreciate it.
Thank you
Yes.
for listening, folks.